Hey everybody, Ramadan starts in a few days and it's going to be slightly different because of our current UK lockdown as well as coronavirus. So I just wanted to cover a few health points just to make everyone feel safer and give advice in terms of what you need to be considering during Ramadan in 2020. This is an unusual year because unlike most times, you won't be able to congregate during Ramadan and that's going to make things really different for everyone. It's important to remember to stay home and stay safe, protect our NHS and help protect yourself, your family, and our communities by listening to the advice about adhering to the local lockdowns. It is really important, and I can't emphasize this enough. Coronavirus clearly has a lot of challenges for us, and particularly during fasting of Ramadan month, it needs to be considered how you look after yourself as well. So, first and foremost, if you have symptoms of coronavirus, firstly, contact 111 if you haven't done so already to get clear advice. But additionally, you shouldn't be fasting from a medical perspective. I appreciate there may be some people that still feel this is a sensible thing to do. I would disagree from a medical standpoint. Fasting while you have symptoms of coronavirus is not healthy and may make you quite unwell. In terms of other health issues, well, we'll come to those in a second. But let's talk about Ramadan itself. Not from a spiritual perspective, but more from a medical perspective. It's important to remember that Ramadan can be quite challenging in terms of the way it affects you. With 17 to 18 hour fasts on a regular daily basis for 30 days, it can take a toll on your physical body and also your mental well-being. It's important to remember the challenges most people face initially is the hydration, not being able to drink regularly, and the lack of food, and often the change in sleep patterns can have a profound effect on people, particularly if you're still having to stick to your daily routines, whether it's down to childcare or because of work. Speaking of work, it's worth having a chat with the employer to see if you can adjust your working time frames to suit the way that you're adapting your body for Ramadan. Clearly, with our current staying at home and UK lockdown, it's important to recognise that many people may have already done this and been working from home. And if you want some extra tips on that, check out our web link in the post about how to work remotely from home easily and effectively. My personal biggest challenge during Ramadan is the change in sleep patterns. I find it really difficult and it's the hardest thing for me to adapt to. But there are some simple things you can try and do to help with that. Number one, try and stick to a routine if you can. Sleeping during the day and then sleeping at night and switching back and forth can be quite difficult. Secondly, avoid the stimulants. So things like caffeine, taurine that are in a lot of drinks like tea, coffee, Red Bull, that kind of stuff. They don't really help, and actually the impact of caffeine can take almost 12 hours to wash out of your system. So having a cup just before you sleep, not going to be really useful. There are some tech resources you can consider, apps like Sleepio and stuff that may help improve your sleeping patterns, and just making sure you're being sensible. So avoiding too much screen time before you sleep, keeping your room at the right temperature, 18 degrees apparently, and using other kind of things like comfortable linen, weighted blankets can help, and also making sure your sleeping environment is for sleeping. Doing so with children can be a bit more challenging because obviously their routines may be completely different to yours, but trying to include the family is always useful and sensible. Exercise is really important to maintain on a regular daily basis. It can be quite challenging during our UK lockdown period, but you are still allowed to leave currently for once a day to have exercise. And that can be something like a simple walk, which is still doable whilst you're fasting. Other options like yoga, tai chi, really good methods in your home environment. If you do want to maintain significant physical activity, it's important to just make sure you can keep hydrated. Now, obviously, if you're fasting at the same time, that can be a bit difficult, but it's important to recognize how you can keep yourself hydrated. And I'm going to talk about this briefly. So, during the hours that you can eat and drink, it's important to drink small amounts on a regular basis rather than drinking large amounts very quickly. You may feel more satiated from a drinking perspective if you do that, but actually you're going to find a lot of that you won't absorb effectively. So drinking small amounts regularly, things like water, dilute squash, juice with water, that kind of stuff can be a really good way of trying to keep yourself hydrated. Again, try and avoid too much of the tea or coffee, won't work as well. Lots of health issues can occur because of poor hydration. In particular, many people can experience headaches, and it's common that people experience this in the first few days either from caffeine withdrawal or from not drinking enough fluids throughout the day. It's important to remember that. Simple pain relief like paracetamol stuff may help. Additionally, constipation is a common challenge during Ramadan for many people. Make sure you drink plenty of water and get lots of fibre in your food will help to offset that. If needs be, contact your local supermarket or pharmacist to get simple laxatives that may help. Heartburn and indigestion are real problems as well. It can be very common, particularly if you've got a change in the type of food that you're eating. Often many people have a lot more oily food for iftar and that kind of stuff, and then having long periods where they're not eating, and then doing so again, that can lead to problems like heartburn, indigestion. Best way to deal with that, eat healthily. Avoid too much spicy food, too many oily foods, and foods that are very high in density. Instead, fruits, vegetables, lightly cooked and avoiding too much salt and oil, as well as things like yogurt and that kind of stuff can help. And going for the slow release foods will definitely keep you feeling better and fuller. Finally, cramps are a common problem during Ramadan as well, because mainly down to the hydration. So again, good hydration will help with that. There are going to be lots of people, lots of chronic health issues, things like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other challenges. It's important to recommend that there are allowances made for people that have health issues, for example, pregnant women, as well as those with chronic health conditions that require them to take medications. If you're concerned, speak to your imam. They'll be able to give you more guidance on this. There's lots of information on websites, like, for example, the Diabetes UK website, in terms of how to manage your health conditions during Ramadan, in terms of what you need to do. You may need to consider things like increased testing, changing your diet, or the timings of your medications, but always follow medical advice when doing so. If needs be, speak to your practice. In terms of that, it's important to remember that during this period, the way that you access your health service will be different. Many practices are currently operating under what's called a total triage system to try and reduce the contacts, particularly because of coronavirus and stuff. And as a result of that, it's important to recognise that how you're going to do that will be different. You'll most likely have to give information either through online methods, telephone consultations, or video consultations before you can see somebody face to face. This will be different for many people and a bit more challenging, but it's important to remember it can work really effectively and save you time, as well as make sure you're getting the right care by the right person at the right time. Feel free to check out some of our videos down below, give you additional advice on how you can do this. For many people, the biggest change is going to be the social aspect of Ramadan during our current coronavirus lockdown period. Look at other options to help you. Things like Zoom, House Party can be a great way to have a family environment whilst doing so. But again, spend time with your family, spend time with your kids, enjoy yourself. It's important to remember to spend time with your family during this period and stick to your guidance in terms of spiritual aspects. I hope you found this useful. Feel free to check out the links down below in the show notes for more details of how you can try and stay healthy in Ramadan in 2020. Catch you in the next episode.